You've heard the horror stories about Florida man, but what about Florida cities? We're not talking about a weird news headline here. We're talking about places where the poverty rate hovers around 30%, and a city's government was so corrupt the state had to step in and take over. On this video from across the United States, we're counting down the 10 cities that are more nope than hope. If you're considering a move, you'll want to watch this to the very end. We're about to show you the places where a cheap house might just be the most expensive mistake you'll ever make. And before we get into the top 10 Florida cities you should definitely add to your nope list, hit that like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Trust us, your future self and your wallet will thank you. Now, let's get into it. Number 10. Fort Pierce. The city that proves even a beautiful view can't solve all your problems. They call it the Sunrise City, which is frankly a bit of a stretch, unless you're talking about the rising property crime statistics. We're not kidding. Recent data from the last couple of years shows that violent crime here is still considerably higher than the national average, and while some sources report a slight decline, the numbers are still eye-popping. Imagine trying to enjoy a picturesque sunrise over the Atlantic when you're busy double-checking that you locked your car door twice. It's a beautiful place, sure, but you'll be too busy looking over your shoulder to appreciate it. And if you're thinking a new job will be your ticket out of this low-grade anxiety, you might want to reconsider. While the city's population has seen a small bump, its employment growth has been moving at a snail's pace. We're talking about a one-year growth rate of less than 0.5% as of mid-2025. It's a tough market, with the most common jobs being in sales, office administration, and construction. So unless your dream job is selling beachfront property or building the next gated community, you might find yourself with a lot of free time and not much to do with it. Now let's talk about the cost of living. You'd think with all these issues, the price would be a steal, right? Not exactly. The median home price in Fort Pierce is currently sitting around $330,000. And believe it or not, that's considered the affordable part of the Treasure Coast. For those looking to rent, you're looking at an average of about $2,300 a month for a place that may or may not come with a third lock on the door. It's a classic case of getting what you pay for. But in this case, what you're paying for is the ocean breeze and the proximity to, well, more crime. So for those of you who think you can handle a little excitement, and by excitement, we mean the adrenaline rush of a high crime rate, Fort Pierce might be your place. For everyone else, relocation requires a serious cost-benefit analysis. Do you truly value a beautiful coastline enough to overlook the fact that your job prospects are limited and your property is more at risk than your tan? It's a question only you can answer. Would you trade safety and a stable career for a seaside view? Number 9. Palatka. Ever been to a town that feels like a forgotten movie set? It's the kind of place where you don't just feel like you've stepped back in time, you feel like you've been left behind. The numbers don't lie. The median household income is a stark $33,628, which is just over half the national average. It's no wonder that a staggering 24% of the population lives below the poverty line. That's nearly 1 in every 4 residents. While other parts of Florida are booming with tech and tourism, Palatka is holding on to an economy that feels like a relic, with jobs primarily in manufacturing and retail, and not the kind of retail that gets you excited. And let's talk about the vibe. Palatka is quiet, sure, but it's the unsettling kind of quiet. The kind where you wonder if the lack of noise is because everyone's on vacation, or because they've all moved somewhere with better job prospects. The local infrastructure is showing its age, and while there have been some revitalization efforts downtown, they feel like a tiny bandage on a much larger wound. It's a town with beautiful historical architecture, but it's hard to appreciate the charm when you're looking for a job that pays a living wage. The silver lining, if you can call it that, is the housing market. The average home price here is a paltry $208,590, which is a fraction of the state's average. And rent? You can find a decent apartment for an average of about $1,367 a month. But here's the thought-provoking question for you. Is a cheap house truly a good deal if you can't find a good job to pay for it? Moving here for the affordability might just be trading one set of problems for another. So if you're considering a move, think long and hard about whether you're ready to trade upward mobility for a lower mortgage payment. It's a quiet life, but is it the one you actually want? Number 8. Lake City. Some might call it a hidden gem, but that's only if you consider a gem to be a place with a violent crime rate that's not just higher than the national average, but nearly double it. Don't be fooled by the serene name. There's a reason this place is so affordable. You might save money on your mortgage, but you'll be paying a hidden tax in the form of constant vigilance. The latest data shows a violent crime rate of 1,547 incidents per 100,000 residents. A truly staggering number that places Lake City among the most dangerous in the state. And while you're busy worrying about your safety, you'll have plenty of time to ponder it, because the job market is a veritable ghost town of opportunity. The local economy is driven primarily by retail, healthcare, and accommodation. Think endless shifts at a chain restaurant, or a hotel with a vacancy sign that never turns off. The most recent employment statistics reveal an unemployment rate that's hovering around 3.9%. And while that sounds decent, it masks a bleak reality of low-paying jobs and a lack of significant career growth. The median household income sits around $51,000, making it difficult for many residents to get ahead, let alone save for a rainy day. The median home price in Lake City is around $325,000, and you can find a rental for an average of about $1,400 per month. On the surface, that looks like a great deal, especially when compared to the rest of the state. But here's the honest, no-holds-barred truth. Relocation to Lake City is a trade-off. Are you genuinely okay with trading a higher-paying, fulfilling career and a sense of safety for a lower rent and mortgage payment? Because that's what you're doing. This isn't a city with hidden potential. It's a city with very real, very public problems. So, ask yourself this. Is cheap rent worth living in a state of chronic boredom and low safety? Number 7. Daytona Beach. Don't let the promise of sun-drenched beaches and adrenaline-fueled races fool you. Once you get past the tourist traps and spring break chaos, you're left with a city that's a year-round party for all the wrong reasons. The crime statistics here are absolutely staggering. While the national violent crime rate hovers around 380 incidents per 100,000 residents, Daytona Beach soars to an estimated 1,119 per 100,000. That's nearly 3 times the national average, making it one of the most dangerous cities in the state. And it's not just violent crime. Property crime is so common here, it feels like a rite of passage. So you might think, okay, but what if I just stay in a nice neighborhood and get a great job? Well, that's where the next party pooper comes in. The job market. While tourism provides plenty of low-paying jobs in the hospitality and food service sectors, the opportunities for a meaningful long-term career are few and far between. The median household income for Daytona Beach is around $50,000, far below the national average. The most recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the average hourly wage in the area is a disappointing $22, compared to the national average of $32.66. You're working harder for less money, and let's be honest, that's not exactly the American dream. And what about the cost of living? You might be drawn in by the idea of an affordable beach town. The median home price here is around $300,000, which sounds like a steal for a coastal city. However, rent prices are on the rise, with the average rent now sitting at approximately $1,700 a month. While that might seem reasonable, it's a difficult number to hit when you're earning well below the national average. So as a prospective resident, you're left with a choice. A low-paying job in a high-crime area, or an endless hunt for a career that might not even exist. Would you feel safe enough to walk alone at night, or would the constant low-level fear make you question whether the beach view is truly worth it? Number 6. Cocoa. Sounds a lot more comforting than it actually is. You might be picturing hot chocolate by a fire, but the reality is more like a cold cup of something you definitely don't want to drink. This city, sitting on the edge of the Space Coast, feels less like a launch pad and more like a crash site for dreams. While its neighbors are riding the high of the aerospace industry, Coco is stuck in a holding pattern. The crime rate here is a serious red flag, clocking in at 76% higher than the national average. Recent reports indicate that violent crimes, particularly assaults and robberies, are a persistent issue. It's a city where you'll want to be extra careful and a bit on edge, which isn't exactly the Florida paradise brochure you've been sold. And if you're thinking about moving here to make a living, you might want to look at the pay stubs first. The median household income is a shockingly low, at around $53,000, a number that has been slow to rise. While the nearby towns of Vieira and Melbourne are flourishing with high-paying jobs tied to places like the Kennedy Space Center, Coco's job market is more focused on retail and service industries. It's a town that struggles to create opportunities for upward mobility. So, while a rocket might be launching from the county, don't expect your career to be taking off with it. The housing market offers a stark contrast. The median home price in Coco is relatively affordable at around $300,000, which might seem appealing at first glance. However, the average rent is on the rise, currently sitting at about $1,900 a month. This creates a difficult situation. You can buy an inexpensive home, but you might struggle to make the payments with a low-paying job. The city's public services are also noticeably underfunded, which can be seen in everything from the state of the roads to the school system. So, for those of you considering a move, here's some brutal honesty. While Coco offers a low cost of entry, the long-term prospects are less than stellar. The better-funded schools, safer streets, and more robust job markets are a short drive away in places like Vieira and Melbourne. Moving to Coco for a cheap home might just mean you're getting what you pay for. How much is your safety and professional growth worth to you when the cities next door are doing so much better? It's a question you need to ask yourself before packing your bags. Still with us? Like the video and hit that subscribe button. Number 5. Pahokee. A place that feels like a forgotten postcard from a different era. Once a vibrant agricultural hub, this town on the shore of Lake Okeechobee has now become a textbook example of rural decline. The quiet here isn't serene. It's the kind of quiet that makes you wonder where everyone has gone. The statistics paint a sobering picture. Recent data shows an unemployment rate of over 11%. That's more than 3 times the national average. When you combine that with a median household income that has been hovering around $50,000, it's clear that the economic opportunities in Pahokee are few and far between. This isn't a place where you'll find a bustling job market. It's a place where you'll be competing for limited positions in a struggling economy. The lack of economic vitality is reflected in the town's infrastructure and public services. Finding a grocery store that isn't a small convenience shop can be a challenge, and access to quality healthcare is limited. The nearest major hospitals are a significant drive away, making routine and emergency care a logistical nightmare. And while the natural beauty of the lake is undeniable, it's difficult to enjoy it when you're worried about the basics of daily life. The median home price is an incredibly low $207,500, a number that has remained flat year over year. You can find a rental for an average of about $795 a month. But here's the thought-provoking question that relocation experts won't tell you. Is a cheap house truly a good deal if it's in a town with no jobs, poor services, and limited amenities? You might save money on your mortgage, but you'll spend it on gas driving to a neighboring town for work, groceries, and medical appointments. It's a classic poverty trap masquerading as a great deal. So, for those of you who think you're ready for a simpler, quieter life, take a hard look at the reality of Pahokee. This isn't a peaceful escape. It's a city struggling with systemic issues. Relocation here means accepting a low quality of life and limited opportunity in exchange for an affordable house. Is a cheap house worth it if you have to drive an hour just to get groceries? Be honest with yourself. Number 4. Homestead. A city that proves you can be close to paradise and still feel like you're in traffic hell. The name sounds so quaint, so pastoral, but the reality is anything but. This is South Florida living without the glamour, just the growing pains. The median household income is around $61,000, a number that sounds okay until you realize the cost of living here is 13% higher than the national average. You're not just earning less than your neighbors in Miami, your money also buys you less. It's a frustrating equation that leaves many residents feeling like they're running on a treadmill that's stuck on a steep incline. And let's talk about that South Florida sprawl. Homestead is now a casualty of Miami's relentless expansion. This means you get all the traffic. The gridlock on US 1 and the turnpike is a daily nightmare. But none of the high-paying jobs or cultural perks that Miami offers. Your commute is a long, slow crawl, and your weekends are spent trying to find a parking spot, not enjoying a vibrant city life. It's a lose-lose situation. And as if traffic and a high cost of living weren't enough, there's a reason Homestead is so well known for its hurricane history. Hurricane Andrew didn't just pass through, it practically redefined the city. And while modern building codes have improved, the lingering fear and the high cost of home and flood insurance are a constant reminder of the risks you're taking by living here. Recent data from the Miami-Dade Police Department shows that crime is still a concern, with non-violent crimes, particularly theft from motor vehicles, remaining prevalent. The median home price is around $470, and the average rent is about $2,500 a month. While that might be more affordable than central Miami, it's a significant financial burden when you consider the local income levels and the chronic traffic. Relocation here means you're buying into a difficult commute, a high cost of living for your salary, and a recurring hurricane season. So, before you get sucked into the idea of South Florida living, ask yourself, is the proximity to Miami worth all the hassles that come with it? Number 3. Belle Glade. A city that's so far off the beaten path, it feels like it's in a different state altogether. Belle Glade. Locals affectionately call the surrounding area the muck, and once you see the rich dark soil from the sugarcane fields, you'll understand why. Unfortunately, that's where the affection seems to end. This city has consistently ranked as one of Florida's poorest, with a median household income that hovers around $47,000, a number that's been slow to climb and doesn't offer much hope for those looking to get ahead. The economic reality is harsh. The local job market is a wasteland for anyone seeking upward mobility, with most opportunities tied to the very same agricultural industries that have defined the town for decades. Recent unemployment data shows a rate of 4.2% in Putnam County, which Belle Glade is a part of. This is higher than the state average and masks the real struggle of underemployment and a lack of high-paying jobs in the area. This isn't just about a lack of jobs, it's about a lack of good jobs. But wait, there's more. The city's crime rate is a serious problem. While the crime index is a complex metric, multiple sources consistently place Belle Glade among Florida's most dangerous cities, with violent crime being a significant concern. The sense of community is often overshadowed by a palpable feeling of unease. Add to that a public school system that struggles with underfunding and limited resources, and you have a recipe for a city that's difficult to thrive in, especially for families. The housing market, predictably, is a siren song for the desperate. The median home price is an eye-poppingly low $299,000, a bargain that might make you think you found a secret. Rent is also low, with the average apartment going for about $1,300 a month. Relocating here for a cheap house might just be a classic case of penny wise, pound foolish. You're buying a home in a city with limited access to quality healthcare, underperforming schools, and few opportunities for professional growth. So I'll leave you with this. What matters more to you, room to breathe, or the opportunities to grow? Number 2. Florida City. We have a city that serves as a prime example of what happens when a gateway becomes a dead end. It's the last stop on the mainland before you hit the iconic overseas highway to the Florida Keys. But while tourists are just passing through, hoping to get to Key West, residents are stuck in a place with some of the most brutal statistics in the state. Recent crime data is particularly concerning, with a violent crime rate that is staggeringly high, making it one of the most dangerous cities in Florida. It's a place where you're more likely to be a victim of a crime than to find a job that pays a living wage. The median household income is shockingly low, especially when you consider its proximity to the wealth of South Florida and the high cost of living that comes with it. There is almost zero economic diversity. The job market is a one-trick pony, catering mostly to the transient tourist crowd with low-paying service industry jobs. It's a classic case of getting the worst of both worlds. You're close enough to Miami-Dade County to be affected by its high prices and traffic, but you're too far to reap the benefits of its robust job market. This isn't a city you move to for a career. It's a city you move from. Let's talk about the numbers that might initially catch your eye. The median home price is around $414,000, and the average rent is approximately $2,000. On the surface, these seem somewhat manageable compared to Miami, but you must remember that you're paying those prices with a significantly lower income. The cost of living is a constant struggle, and the lack of decent jobs means that many residents are living on the edge of financial instability. Relocating to Florida City for affordable South Florida living is a mistake. It's not a hidden gem, it's a very clear warning sign. So I have to ask you, do you really want to live in a place that tourists only pass through, and for a very good reason? Number 1. Opa-locka. When you hear this name, the first thing that should come to mind isn't its beautiful Arabian-themed architecture. It should be the sheer, mind-boggling scale of its problems. This isn't just a city with a few bad stats. It's a city that has become a case study in systemic failure. The headlines about Opa-locka are the stuff of legend, from federal corruption probes and arrests of city officials to a literal state-declared financial emergency. This is a city where you can't trust the government, let alone the person living next door. The crime here isn't just high, it's practically a constant. Recent data from multiple sources consistently rank Opa-locka among the most dangerous cities in Florida, with violent and property crime rates that are among the highest in the state and the entire country. The sense of unease is palpable, and the city's underfunded police department and deteriorating infrastructure only make matters worse. You're not just moving to a new house, you're moving into a low-grade, constant state of alarm. And if you're holding out for a job to pull you out of this mess, you'll be waiting a very long time. The median household income in Opa-locka is a grim $22,000, which is barely a third of the national average. Unemployment is a persistent issue, and the local job market is non-existent for anyone seeking a meaningful career. It's a poverty trap, plain and simple, where the lack of economic opportunity keeps a vicious cycle of crime and low quality of life in motion. On the housing front, the numbers are as misleading as they come. The median home price is around $399,000, and the average rent is approximately $1,179 per month. At a glance, the rent might seem incredibly affordable, but when you match it against the median income, it's clear that a huge portion of the population is struggling just to keep a roof over their heads. Relocation here isn't an opportunity, it's a desperation move. So there you have it, 10 Florida cities that might look fine on the surface, until you actually live there. Sunshine doesn't fix everything, especially when you're dealing with sky-high crime, struggling job markets, and housing that's cheap for all the wrong reasons. Thinking of relocating? Don't just chase the weather, look at the data. Ask yourself, is this a place where I can grow, feel safe, and actually enjoy life? If you've lived in any of these cities, or you're considering a move to Florida, drop a comment below and share your experience. Your insight might just help someone else make a smarter move. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to Across the United States for more real talk on the best and worst places to live. See you in the next one.